Hi there, it's Kathy again, and today we're going to talk about another reality check, the financial and safety risks hidden inside private home care. So think about it, as a family caregiver or an elder yourself, you may find yourself being pushed toward private home care as if it were a complete solution for medically complex aging. It is not. And the greatest misunderstanding is not simply about the care quality, it's about the financial exposure, false assumptions of protection, and the dangerous gap between what you believe you are purchasing and what the private home care staff and agency is actually designed to do. Know that private home care is not a healthcare system. It is a labor-based support service built primarily around companionship, supervision, and assistance with daily living. That's the model. Yet families, and maybe you find yourself in this situation, are increasingly using it to hold together situations that involve dementia, multiple chronic illnesses, mobility decline, medication complexity, and medical instability. Okay, so it's this mismatch that creates enormous financial and clinical risk for the elder, for the person, for you, the family, and actually for the caregiver. So let's first look beyond the financial illusion before paying these premium prices for incomplete coverage. So do you believe that hiring a private home care agency means you are purchasing comprehensive protection and oversight? Again, you are not. Let's take a look at some current rates. So you are going to pay anywhere from $35 to $50 an hour. So that is $300 to $1,000 per day, depending on how many hours, or $12,000 to $30,000 per month. Again, if you are looking lower hours or round-the-clock care. Round-the-clock care adds up really quickly. But most agencies for that amount of money are not providing any clinical management, medication oversight, or coordination. A large percentage of that money goes toward the agency overhead, scheduling systems, recruiting, liability coverage, administrative staff, and of course, profit margins. Meanwhile, the frontline caregiver that's in the home with the person often only receives a fraction of what the family is paying, often half of that. Often without benefits, long-term stability, or any advanced training. So you are paying healthcare level prices for non-healthcare structure. Think about that. This results in one of the most dangerous value gaps in aging services today. So let's look at the cash burn reality. This is something most people don't even consider. It's kind of like, well, this is what I'll pay today, this is what I'll always pay. It's not. Most families don't calculate the long-term financial burn rate before starting private home care. They focus on an immediate crisis, assuming the system will sustain itself when it can't. So let's look at a moderate home care support, 8 hours a day at $40 an hour. Considering that may be every single day, 8 hours a day, that's a daily cost of $320, monthly cost of about $9,600, just shy of $10,000 a month. That annual cost creeps up to $115,000 a year. Now, this is contingent on 8 hours a day, every day. The more consistent hours you give, the more consistent your caregiver will be. Now, let's look at 24/7 coverage, which is 24 hours a day at $40 an hour. So the daily rate now is $960 a day, $28,800 a month, or over $300,000 a year for 24/7. This is just simply not affordable. And the model was not designed to do that. Now add on top of that medications, medical equipment, home modification, hospitalization, insurance costs, supplemental nursing or therapy. Remember, even with 24/7 coverage with aides, they cannot do complex procedures or administer medication. Unfortunately, I've seen many middle-class families burn through savings, retirement funds, and home equity far faster than expected because they didn't look at this. The painful reality is private home care is often financially unsustainable for long, and an elder's medical needs are not always stable. So this financial review is meant to give you a reality check. The someone is there illusion. This is another dangerous assumption. Just because there's a body in the house doesn't equate presence of someone with safety. So the situation may be one that seems stable, but there may be subtle things going on in the background, something that may need a little bit more clinical management. Think about it again. I may hear myself repeating myself, but I can't say this enough. Most private caregivers cannot administer medications. They cannot independently assess medical decline, make clinical judgments, or legally perform skilled tasks such as wound care, cannot manage unstable chronic illness, and cannot coordinate fragmented medical systems. Yet think about it. Is this what you assume you're hiring a private agency to do? You're thinking maybe that, okay, someone's there, so medications are being monitored, changes in any condition will be recognized, risks are being managed, and emergencies will be prevented. That assumption creates false security. Yes, a caregiver can notice if someone is more tired, more confused, or not eating. But without clinical training or oversight, serious, subtle medical decline can be missed until hospitalization or a crisis occurs. Let's take a closer look at this medication area here because this is a huge gap. Medication management, mismanagement, errors. Here is where many families unknowingly step into dangerous territories. The average number of medications older people take is 10 to 15 per day. And multiple medications create interaction risks. High-risk drugs affect balance, cognition, blood pressure. Medication management and medication administration is one of the most critical drivers of stability in aging care. Yet private home care agencies are not designed to manage this. When I say this, I mean things like polypharmacy, which is more than one medication. Medication timing and the complexity before meals, after meals, at night, in the morning, side effect monitoring, clinical medication reconciliation. Meds are changing all the time. In medical symptom interpretation, most agencies offer medication reminders. They may tell the client it's time to take medications, but reminders are not medication management. Reminders are not medication management. And in many states, caregivers cannot legally administer medications unless specific licensing and delegation requirements are met. So check that out with your state. Unfortunately, families don't think of this or discover it too late. Another area of risk is the contract. How many, you probably have not, or if you have, you misunderstand what the agency's contracts actually protect. So most of these contracts protect scope limitations, exclusions for medical responsibility, transfer and lifting limitations, transportation liability exclusions or transfer the risk to the caregiver, fall-related disclaimers, and non-guarantee of staffing consistency. You may ask yourself, what am I paying for? So when a caregiver does not show up, a fall occurs, medications are missed, a wandering event happens, a hospitalization occurs, the liability frequently shifts back to, you got it, you, the family. The agency provides the staffing, but not the responsibility for the overall outcome. Now, this distinction matters enormously. Another gap here is the revolving door problem, right? Continuity is the foundation of safe elder care, but private home care is built around per diem staffing, split shifts, rotating caregivers. This results in high turnover and last-minute substitution. So this creates fragmented observation. No single person sees the whole picture long enough to recognize any, whether it's overt or subtle, decline or change in situation or condition. Information gets lost, patterns get missed, risk quietly accumulates. Again, who does this all fall back to? Families. The care coordinating, the shift managers, medication overseers, emergency responders, advocates, quality control. When you think of it, it is you. Now, many people say, well, this is why I'm hiring an agency. Well, this is why I'm making this video. You know, private home care was never designed to carry complex care alone. It just isn't in the business model. Private home care works best when the needs are stable, risks are low, family oversight is strong, care is supplemental, and clinical complexity is limited. It was never designed, and still today is not designed, to independently manage advanced dementia, complex chronic illness, frequent medical instability, end-of-life decline, behavioral disturbances specifically related to memory loss, high-risk fall situations, or heavy medication management. Yet, families are increasingly being pushed to use private home care. Why? Because the larger picture, the bigger picture of healthcare and long-term care systems are in trouble, and they're getting disrupted, even becoming more fragmented. They're understaffed and financially inaccessible. So what do you do with all this, right? It's probably what you're asking yourself. The most important question to ask in any caregiving situation in the home is, what is the anchor service? Stop asking, who can sit with mom? And start asking, what service is clinically anchoring this case? And I'm not talking about just a simple case. I'm talking about the ones that we all see. Private home care alone cannot safely manage a medically complex case, period, unless you're hiring additional nursing oversight that they also may offer, and that adds more to the cost that I gave you earlier. Know that the anchor service provides the clinical oversight and coordinating of care or coordination that private caregiving just simply cannot do. So here are some examples of that. Active geriatric oversight. Home health nursing may be in there at the same time. Palliative care hospice. They may be an aging life care or geriatric care management professional overseeing it. There may be a nurse-led medication management person overseeing it. But without the anchor service, families are the ones who become the anchor, and they're left trying to stabilize medically fragile situation using non-clinical staff alone, and this is where it all starts to fall apart. So what do you do? How do you protect yourself and your family? So before hiring a private home care agency or retaining an agency, first, run the financial burn analysis. Ask, how long can we realistically keep this up? What happens if care hours increase? What happens after hospitalization? What happens if 24/7 care becomes necessary? You need to run it out, months, even a couple of years, especially in the case of memory loss or dementia. Do not plan for today's needs only. Plan for escalation. Second, Clarify exactly what the agency you are retaining can and cannot do. Get written answers regarding medication assistance, transfers, managing dementia behaviors, overnight coverage, emergency response, transportation, especially liability, staffing guarantees, clinical oversight. Do not rely on verbal assurances. Third, interview the caregiver, especially if you are giving the agency a lot of hours. Not just the agency representative. Interview the caregiver. Ask about experience with a particular area, heart failure, Parkinson's disease, dementia. The experience with fall prevention, communication skills, reliability, crisis handling, and end-of-life experience, anything that matters to your situation. The caregiver's experience matters much more than any marketing. Now, build clinical oversight into the plan. Private home care should rarely stand alone in medically complex situations. It is not the anchor service. You need nursing involvement, medication oversight, physician engagement, care coordination, and clear emergency planning, the what next, what if. If you have some salesperson or marketer developing your plan of care, this is a huge red flag. Go somewhere else. Fifth, understand that family oversight remains essential. Even with paid care, families is anyone who's been there, which I have as a family member as well as a professional, remain the true care managers. Because we're the ones coordinating the services, tracking decline, watching medications, communicating with providers, anticipating risk, the whole gamut. Ignoring and identifying this anchor creates dangerous blind spots. So while private home care can be valuable, excellent caregivers do exist, and many families are helped by them. But families must stop. You've got to stop confusing staffing with comprehensive care. High cost does not equate to high skill. Presence does not equal protection. Agencies do not replace healthcare system, and contracts do not eliminate risk. Remember that private home care is just one layer of support, not a complete solution for your health and medical and functional and cognitive situation. If you do not get your hands around the clinical, the financial, and structural gaps, what happens is stability is not the only thing affected, safety is not the only thing affected, but also the life savings you're trying to protect in the first place are sucked out the window faster than you can even realize it happens. For practical guidance on how to recruit, interview, and evaluate and hire private caregivers safely, refer to the other video that I'm making on how to hire your own caregivers, which agencies are actually doing things a little bit different, and maybe even how to get, I do have a video on how to get paid to be a caregiver on this site. So thank you for watching. I hope you found this helpful.